Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today I'm going to be using one of these and one of these to do this. Alexa, switch the music room on.
Okay.
So what is one of these, I hear you cry? If you're new to my channel, you won't know. If you've been around for a while, you know exactly what it is. It's a Broadlink RM Pro. And the idea of the Broadlink RM Pro is it can send infrared frequencies to switch your television on and off, or to change the channels, or to switch the volume up and down, or basically do anything that your remote can do using your mobile phone instead of the original remote. That was its original purpose. In January, I figured out how we could get this thing to be controlled via Alexa by sticking an Android device between Alexa and this thing. That's great if you have an Android device. If you're an iOS person, which I know a lot of you are, it doesn't work that way. You don't want to have to buy an Android device, especially for doing that. And so you guys, especially, have been screaming out to be able to get rid of the Android device and do it without. So Broadlink have just recently released a skill to the US market which can control this thing straight away from Alexa without any messing around. The only problem with that is rubbish. So Broadlink have released a skill that can only control televisions, and I have no idea why. At least that's what they think. I have now tricked it into controlling whatever the hell I like. So sorry, Broadlink. I've taken your stupid television skill and made it control whatever I want. There is just one caveat. The problem with this is that it thinks it is toggling a television on and off. And of course, RF devices require an on frequency or an off frequency, and I can't program in both. So there are two Alexa commands. One is switch my lights on, and one is mute my lights. We can't say switch the lights off because we're working with a toggle. It's a bit of a shame, but that is now. It won't necessarily be forever. I think the idea is that Broadlink will eventually roll it out so that their skill can control more than just televisions, and we'll be able to control the lamp, for example. And if you can control a lamp, you can take the same method that I've done today in exactly the same way, but just choose lamp instead of television, and you'll be all set. So enjoy this guide on how to trick Broadlink into doing whatever the hell Paul wants. So you guys have finally convinced me to give IHC another go. Everyone's been saying, hey Paul, have you seen IHC? Hey, have you seen IHC? Have you seen IHC? Have you seen it? Yes, I've seen it. It sucks. Okay, but I found a way to make it suck a little bit less, and so I thought I'd show you that today. So I'm still a big fan of eControl, so IHC has pissed me off already, because the first thing it makes you do is hardware reset your Broadlink RM Pro. So anyway, we'll come to that in a sec. So this is IHC. It's the replacement for eControl. If you're not familiar with eControl, it's what Broadlink released software-wise first before this came out. So I'm going to press this little plus button in the top right because I need to add my Broadlink RM Pro. You can see I've got a couple of things added there already because I've been playing around with it. But it's the RM Pro that I need for today's exercise, so I'm going to go to Add Device. And then I get this barcode scanner. So if you have brought a brand new Broadlink RM Pro, you can just scan the barcode on the packaging, and then this is added for you, which is great. I'm old school though, so I'm going to have to go to Add Device by category because I bought my RM Pro about 6 years ago. So there, RM Pro. And now this is where it pisses me off. So it's going to make me hardware reset the Broadlink RM Pro before it's discoverable, which is incredibly frustrating. So I have to put a pin in the reset button. For me, I don't think this is actually hardware reset my RM Pro at all. I think it put it into pairing mode. But I've had reports from other people saying that it wiped out everything for them for eControl. So if you've spent 6 years building up all your different devices, this is probably going to really wind you up. You now need to hardware reset your RM Pro before pressing next. So I've pressed the factory reset button, and now fingers crossed it's not going to delete everything in eControl for me, but your experience may differ. Don't come yelling at me when it screws up eControl. That's added successfully. You can leave it called Universal Remote if you want to. I'm going to change it to be Paul's RM Pro, so it's easy to identify. Although it's fairly easy to identify anyway because there's a big picture of it. And that is in my master bedroom, or at least it will be when I install it back in its rightful location. I'm going to press done. So I now have an RM Pro, which I can teach how to do stuff. So randomly, you have to click the RM Pro to add remotes. So rather than clicking the plus button here and getting an option for a remote, you've actually got to click the RM Pro, and then you can add a remote. So this is the replacements for your physical remote. So I'm going to pick, believe it or not, I'm going to pick television, even though what I'm going to teach it to do is to control RF devices. I'm going to pick television. And the reason for that is Broadlink, in their infinite wisdom, again, they released the Alexa skill and made it so that the Alexa skill can only control televisions, which is stupid, incredibly stupid. So the consequence is I've had to figure out how to fool it into controlling the things I want to control. And the way in which I do that is I tell the Broadlink I'm going to control a TV, and then I don't. I sneakily don't control a TV, I sneakily control something else. So you can pick any one of these things. It doesn't matter. Yes, my TV has been turned off. Nonsense, it hasn't. I'm not controlling a television. And here is where it's going to ask you to start confirming that buttons are working. So I'm going to say, yes, that worked. Yes, that worked. So this is how, of course, you will actually teach it how to control a television if you want to control a television. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to overwrite all this stuff. So I'm just going to follow that process through and keep pressing yes and skip and yes and skip. Right, so I now have a remote, and it now says you can add the service to voice control TV by Alexa, which means that this is an Alexa controllable device. The other remotes are not, and that's why we've picked television. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the buttons with other things. And so all you do is you click on this little button up here and go to Learn. And all of the buttons, I can now click Learn Again. And when I click Learn Again, it puts the RM Pro into listening mode, and I can press anything I like. It doesn't necessarily have to be an infrared button, it could be an RF button. So if I click Learn Again, it's going to put the Broadlink into pairing mode, and then I can press the On button on my RF remote, and it will learn that RF frequency. So pressing test, yes, it did do what I wanted it to do. So what I want it to do is I've actually got a load of RF plug sockets and light switches around my music room, and I am programming the Broadlink RM Pro to respond to the one button that does all of those things. So yes, it does. So this is the frustrating part. The on-off button in the Broadlink software is a toggle, which means that I can't use a separate on command and a separate off command, which of course all of my plug sockets and light switches are using a separate on and off command. So I'm going to have to program something else that I can say to Alexa to be my off command. So we can say mute, and that will send a frequency. So I'm going to use the mute button. So I'm going to click Learn Again on silence, and I'm going to press the off button on my remote. And then pressing test, of course, switches everything off. So yes, it did work. And now I'm going to press save. And now I have a fake TV remote for my television, which isn't for my television at all. And she is going to be listening for the word television because that's what this remote is called at the top of the screen. If I press these little buttons again and go to settings, I can rename television to be music room. And then save that. Now, when I say, Alexa, switch the music room on, she's going to think she's switching a television on, when actually she's sending the on frequency to switch all of my plug sockets and light switches on. And when I say, Alexa, mute the music room, she's going to switch all of my music room off. So I'm going to test that theory now. So if I press the power button, it switches my music room on very successfully, and if I press the mute button, which I'm not going to do right now, it will switch my music room off. So handily, the icons are side by side there, so I can access them if I need to. And now going back to our main menu, I have a music room, which is currently illustrated by a TV. And clicking on that TV, I've got my on-off button, and I've got my silent button there for me to be able to turn my music room on or off. But more importantly, if I now go and install the Alexa skill, by going to the Amazon Alexa app and going to skills and then enabling the Broadlink skill by simply searching for it. You can now enable the skill from there. So you can see I've already enabled it. And here is my more recent frustration with Broadlink again. If you're one of my UK counterparts, you're going to find that you can't enable this skill because they've only made it available in the US at the moment. It is going to be available in the UK soon, so you will see this video at some point will be in the past, and you will be in the future, and I will be out of date, and you won't, and you'll be telling me, but it does work. Well, yes, of course it does. You're in the future. If you're in the UK right now and you want to try this out, see my previous video here as to how you can enable US skills. We can then go to Smart Home, Devices, and then Discover. And it's going to find a device called Music Room. If I hadn't renamed the remote, it would have found a device called Television. And I would be able to give television commands to Alexa and therefore control my television. But because I've called it Music Room, I can give the two commands that I've overwritten, which is Music Room On, and then it's going to switch the Music Room on, or Music Room Mute, and it's going to mute the Music Room. It's going to turn the Music Room off. So not the best commands in the world. It's a bit of a shame that they haven't given us an on and an off command, which is incredibly lazy of them. Eventually, this video will be completely defunct because they will enable the lamp functionality. And if you use the lamp, you have an on and an off. And so as soon as they make it so that Alexa can actually discover the lamps and not just televisions, you'll be able to use that instead. But for now, this is a wicked workaround to save you from having to have an Android device. If you've enjoyed this one, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see some more of this guy, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to help support my channel via either Patreon or PayPal, the links are in the description. I'll see you next time. This microphone is too... Look at these things. Focus. Focus on my face, camera. This little baby is not a baby. It's a piece of technology. Stop being a child. To the and it'll do it. And I'm jabbering, and I'm totally lost. I have no idea what I'm saying. That's not correct.
This is the dance of the robot.